I know this is not Black History Month, but sometimes you just have to get out of the boxes you've created for yourselves and do something out of the norm. Also, the crazy times we live in. It's good to get away from the politics, the news of the day, and allow me to give you just a feel-good story from history. Now, you may be thinking, wait a minute, Bill, what about this white supremacy thing and peanut butter? Well, give me just a minute. I'll get you there. First, let me introduce you to George Washington Carver. This man was born a slave during the Civil War in Missouri, so he wasn't a slave for long. He was owned by a man by the name of Moses Carver, and George was always known as, growing up, as Carver's George, even as a free boy. He was taken in by a sweet lady who began to educate him and told him, you need to have a real name. So let's just make it George Carver. Years later, as an adult, he ended up north, and a problem arose when there was another man in his community named George Carver. So that's when he added a W. He became George W. Carver so they could distinguish the male. Somebody asked him one day, so what does that W stand for? Could it be Washington? And he thought, I kind of like that. So from that point on, he called himself George Washington Carver. In 1894, he graduated from Iowa State, making him not just the first black man to graduate from that white college. He became the first of a whole very few African Americans to graduate from any white college at about that time. He became a scientist. He was hired by another one of my favorite African Americans, Booker T. Washington. So he moved to Alabama. Booker T. had established Tuskegee Instute. And there Carver became expert in agricultural stuff and began to try to work with the small southern poor farmers in making their farms more productive, making more money for their family, and just being able to provide a better life for all around. And he literally brought a revolution to the farming community at that time. One of the things he did, besides helping them get off the cotton thing and save the soil, was he introduced peanuts to them. And at the same time, from his lab, he developed 350 uses for the peanut. Just incredible. I mean, he himself created such a market for peanuts, these southern farmers couldn't even keep up with it. And of course, out of that came the product we all love, peanut butter. Now, he cannot be given credit directly for inventing peanut butter, but it would have never happened without him. And I love peanut butter. I can take my spoon and dip it in there and eat it with nothing else. And that's why I celebrate the ingenuity of African Americans, and specifically, I honor the work of this one man, George Washington Carver. And I have a word for white supremacists. Now, I watch MSNBC every day, and they let me know just how many zillions of white supremacists are out there, every town, every community, every home just about. And so imagine the statement it would make if you guys just quit eating peanut butter as a statement of your faith. And to you African Americans out there, especially the young ones, learn from George Washington Carver. Do not believe the lie that white supremacy or systemic racism is keeping you down. He overcame all of it, and so can you. And maybe you will be the next African American to bring about some economic revolution that will help make our lives better.